All right, Algebra 2. Welcome back to another amazing section of math notes. All right, guys, we are in section 5 today of chapter 3. So this is titled Linear Equations in 3 Dimensions. That's right, 3 dimensions. We are no longer just using 2, not just x and y, but we now have x, y, and z as our third dimension here. Okay, so up to this point, just like that note says, we've been dealing with only 2, but now welcome to the third dimension. All right, copy all this stuff down into your notes, as you always should be, by the way. If you're not taking the time to 1, watch these videos, and 2, copy the notes, it can be a bit difficult, especially later on in the year. Okay, so take the time to copy this down. I'm going to explain it because you're going to notice things have shifted a little bit. All right, so the x-axis is now representing the axis that comes out of the screen and goes into the screen. Okay, you'll notice I wrote the word positive there because the positive part is actually representing what comes out of the screen, and the negative part is representing what goes into the screen. You'll notice y has now shifted, and it has become the left and right axis there. Still, positives go to the right, negatives go to the left. Z being introduced is now taking the place of the vertical up and down axis. Still up being positive, down being negative. Okay, so copy that down, take the time to do that. All right, let's move into the next note. That right there just explains basically what I just explained. All right, except now it's typed out, just in case you want to write that part exactly down and you miss some of the verbal part that I gave you. All right, you could do that. And then this last part right here, you will be given linear equations. All right, in other words, a full equation that now has x, y, and z. And they're going to say, solve this equation for each of the intercepts, meaning where does the graph touch the x and y and z axis. You're going to solve that, and then you're going to graph it. Okay, how do you solve it? By making 2 of the variables 0. That allows you to solve for the third variable. Okay, so for example, if you wanted to solve for z, you would make x and y 0. And then you need to go back and redo it. Solving for x, you would make y and z 0. All right, and then you keep going until you have all 3 values. All right, let's jump into our notes. You can see, oh, and by the way, example 2, top of page 215. It's a great example to show you what I'm talking about for solving a linear equation with all 3 variables. All right, don't forget the order here goes x, then y, then z. That's the order of those numbers. All right, so let's take a look here. First one we're going to do in red. So ax represents coming out of the screen. Okay, so we're going to go, looks like we're going down, but remember we're coming out of the screen. So we go 1, and then y, we go 3 times for the y. 1, 2, 3, and then we go essentially down 1, right? So we're going to be right about there for A. Okay. And now let's represent B. We got to go to the blue color. Okay. So we are at a negative, which looks like we're going into the screen for X. All right. So there is a 1. Then we have a 1 to the right. And then we have a 2 going up for Z. So that would be a 1 and a 2. Looks like we are right about there for our B value. Okay, now we're looking at green. Okay, so now we are again going to go out of the screen 1 time. Then we have a -3, which goes to the right. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. And then we go up. So we're right about there for our C value. Okay, so now you can kind of see how this works. If we have a positive X, you're coming out of the screen. Positive Y would go to the right, then a positive Z would go up. And you can flip all that around for negatives. A negative X would go into the screen. a negative y would go to the left, and a negative z would go down. Okay. All right, let's keep progressing here. Let's take a look. All right, now we have to graph this equation. Before we can graph it, we have to solve for all three variables. All right, so the first step, let's make x and y both 0. Here's the easy thing. Anytime you make a variable 0, that crosses it out. All right, so if I make x and y 0, the only thing I have left is 2z equals 4. Okay, which would mean that z equals 2. All right, now if we go in a different color, if I make z 0 and I make x 0, then that means the only thing I have left is a negative 4y equals 4, which would mean that y equals negative 1. Okay, now final one, let's do that in green. We need to now solve for x. This is pretty easy. Make y 0, make x 0, they drop out. All you're going to have left is just x equals 4. That one solved itself. That was nice. Okay. Okay, so here we go. Now we have our intercepts, which means we actually have 3 distinct points here. All right, not one. We have 3 distinct points. Okay, and this is how we represent those 3 distinct points. So let's write them all out. We're actually going to have 3 ordered triples. Okay, so we will have one where we have x, comma, 0, comma, 0, and we know x is 4. Y, so we have 0, comma, and remember our y value, yep, there we go, it's negative 1, comma, 0. And then the last one, 0, comma, 0, comma, and our z value was 2. Okay, so we actually have 3 points, because what I said at the beginning is you're solving for the intercepts. So you make the other 2 0, then what is the unknown third point? All right, so you're going to have 3 different dots, and you're going to connect these dots and essentially create a 3-dimensional shape. All right, so we have one point where x is 4. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's one point right there. Then we have a point where y is negative 1. So negative 1 for y. We have a point right there. Then we have a point where z is 2. So we go 1, 2, and we have a point right here. It's really kind of hard to see it, but it's like a triangle that's been squished. Okay, so let's see if we can draw this out, where we have one point connected here. We have another point connected here. And then we have this long point connected right there. Okay, so that's creating this triangle. Sorry, let's see if we can get that a little bit better. This guy right there. All right, there we go. So that's our triangle. It's like a 3-dimensional shape. That's what it's trying to represent. And I know it's kind of squished. All right, but that's exactly how this would be drawn out on your coordinate plane with x, y, and z. Okay? All right, guys, that covers section 5. Make sure that you take the time to watch the video, rewatch it if you need to, and take these notes. All right? See you guys in the next one.